Hi, how are you doing? Hopefully you listened to how to turn around negative thoughts and do that thought stopping technique. Now what I want to talk to you about is how do you incorporate self-compassion into that and mindfulness. When we just do the thought stopping, that's really good for dealing with our critic that sits on our shoulder, and when we know we have negative thoughts that keep coming, we can stop those negative thoughts. Or I kind of have a brain that likes to think about something over and over and over again, a little OCD there, obsessive compulsive, kind of on the same issue. Or if I'm in a creative zone, I can do that. And I can drive myself a little crazy sometimes. So that thought stopping technique works really, really well. And then to replace it with gratitude and think of something that you're grateful for. I want to talk a bit more about compassion and self-compassion specifically. Now, we can have empathy, and empathy is really about feeling with someone. And when we're feeling with someone and having empathy, we're feeling like the same pain that they are. And we may want to help them, but we don't know how because we're right in there with them. Compassion is kind of like the next level or the next development for ourselves. And compassion is really wanting to alleviate that pain from somebody else or from ourselves in the case of self-compassion. But we're not at a place that we're feeling all that pain. We know what that pain feels like. We've been there. And we're there for that person, holding the space, meeting them where they're at. And also we don't have to go into that grief as much as where that person is. So let's take an example. Your friend calls you and they missed an important deadline at work, or they didn't realize that they were even supposed to do this one project, and they call you and they're so stressed out and they're worried about their job. And how are you with them? Now, if you've been in that same position where, oh my gosh, you forgot to do something, you can have empathy with them, right? You're feeling the pain with them. To come from a place of compassion, it is about having that caring, giving that support, really listening to the person and giving that person kind of what they're needing at that point. And maybe if you're in compassion, you can help them with caring and also ask them, is there anything you could do differently in the future so you don't go through this pain that you're going through? That's that next level of helping interact with them in a way that we're really helping them as a friend, and we're not just there only giving them that caring, but we're also helping them to take that next step. And maybe they know what it is. We don't have to be the knowledge for that. So self-compassion is about holding that space for yourself. And you're the one that's there for yourself 24/7. Now let me tell you, I have struggled with this a lot in my life. And there have been times in my life where I actually had the biggest critic, and I would drive myself, and I can still go into that mode. And there was a time where I really had self-hatred and self-loathing. And that might speak to you. Being mindful of where we are in the moment, recognizing our feelings, help us become more conscious, more emotionally intelligent, and can lead into our spiritual intelligence, where we are more mindful of what's going on in the moment. We're not avoiding. So that thought stopping technique and trying to turn our negative thoughts around has its place, and it's very good. And there's another time when we need to be mindful of what we're feeling and allow ourselves to feel those feelings, and maybe even do some deeper work around it to know what triggers us, to look at what those triggers are in our life and what we need to do some deeper healing. So as I've shared with you, I've struggled with depression and anxiety and post-traumatic stress disorder in my life. And dealing with the deeper triggers is so important. So self-compassion. Let's go back to mindfulness and self-compassion. Mindfulness is about becoming present in the moment and having a sense of what you're feeling. So that is emotional intelligence. And that's the self-awareness part of emotional intelligence. And with that, now we're mindful, we understand, we can kind of witness. We develop a witness self, a part of ourselves that kind of sees what's going on without the judgment, without that critic on our shoulder saying, you should have done it this way, you should have done it that way. No, we are looking from a place of compassion, witnessing what's going on, witnessing our feelings, and then being that compassionate person to ourselves. Self-compassion. And when we do that self-compassion, it can make a huge difference in our life in terms of how we feel about ourselves. There's research out about self-esteem, and self-esteem can create a one up and one down position. Self-esteem really comes out of the ego place. So if you're looking for self-esteem, you want to feel better, you want to feel special, you're better than somebody else. See how that one up, one down, that is all about ego. If we want to come from our best self or a higher self, what we want to do is we want to learn how to be mindful, see what we're feeling, and have that self-compassion. So let's take an exercise here. My exercise for you is to start small. We want to start with the light weights, and then we can work up to the heavier weights. So an exercise that you can do right now today is to think about something that was stressful for you or hurtful that somebody said, or maybe it's an interaction that you had that you weren't sure how it went, to go back and explore what those feelings were. So first, be mindful of your feelings, gain that self-awareness, and witness it from this other place, this outside of your ego place, just witnessing it without judgment. So if you have all kinds of judgment about it, you know you're coming from your ego. But if you can witness it, you're coming from the witness self and just creating a larger container. So as you create that larger container, now what I want you to do is I want you to imagine that you are your friend with that pain about that situation or that stress, and just giving yourself some care and concern and some time just to recognize, wow, that felt really stressful. Or I asked for something from someone and I had the courage to ask, and I was a little vulnerable in asking, and they didn't say anything. Ouch. Okay, ouch, that hurts. So noticing that, and to connect our mind about what we thought about it, our hearts, where the pain resides, and also our gut level feeling. And we can connect all of those. And actually there's a nerve that runs between all three of those. It's called the vagus nerve. And with the heart math and bringing yourself into resonance, your heart and your mind, and to resonance, we can do some exercises around that, and I'll let you research that. You can Google heart math. There's research about creating less anxiety by doing some blocking in the stomach and the gut with anxiety. So we know the vagus nerve runs all the way from our brain to our heart to our gut. And with that, those three can be out of balance, or they can be incongruent in resonance. And when they're in resonance, we feel better. So one way to do that is to understand what you're feeling, what you're thinking, how it's affecting you in your body. Daniel Siegel talks about giving comfort to yourself. So self-comforting thing is something that you can do as you're giving yourself that self-compassion. You're being mindful, you're looking at your thoughts, and you're seeing what you're feeling, and you're being that great friend to yourself. Try it. Try this exercise. Putting your hand on your stomach and one on your heart is a self-soothing exercise. So try that and see how that feels. Just like a baby that's crying, you don't want to ignore these parts of yourself. We're a closed system, as Carl Jung would say. And being a closed system, what goes in stays in there until we allow it to come out. So if we have all these hurts and pains from our life and we don't deal with any of them, then they just keep recirculating. This is a way to take that recirculation process and allow it to come out. So your first assignment here for self-compassion is to recognize, first, be mindful. What's going on in my body as you think about that stressful or that hurtful situation, or just kind of an interaction that just didn't feel right. Sometimes we don't know what's going on in the moment. We have to go away and think about it, especially if you're an introvert. And sometimes extroverts, they need to talk about out loud what's going on. So you might find a good friend to do that work with you. So finding out, what is it that I'm feeling? What was that stressful situation or that difficult situation? And then noticing what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and then doing some self-soothing and asking yourself, can I be that self-compassionate person for myself? You really can. So maybe this is the first step for you to take in your life to be self-compassionate. And here is a beautiful gift out of self-compassion. When you be self-compassionate with yourself, when you're compassionate with other people, you might think you're compassionate with other people, but until you do that self-compassion, you can't fully be compassionate with someone else. So I urge you to do this work for yourself and see how that might change in your relationships. As we create more self-compassion, we create a better, easier life around us, and we do create more joy and contentment. So I'm not saying go around be happy, happy, happy. This is not about denial. This is about stopping the thoughts that continually go in our brain, being mindful, being compassionate with yourself so you can be more compassionate with somebody else, and doing it from a place where you really know what it's like to be in pain and to go through the pain that we all have. Every single person on this planet experiences some pain. So it's not about us being poor me or creating more drama out of it. It's about doing what's real inside of us and giving ourselves that care and that concern. And when we do that, we create, in our own corner of the world, we create a better world. And I believe we can create more peace and love and caring on this planet. And that's why I've created this app, and that's why I'm doing this kind of work in the world, because I know we can make a better world, even if we start small. So start small, start with yourself, and give yourself that love and that caring from your best self. Thank you.